In this video, we will be talking about how to set up the level play ad events. Here you will going to find in the hierarchy I have this level play ad events example and two scripts load scene and the level play ad events example. Here in the previous tutorial, as you know, we have set up the ads initializer as well as the ads manager for the level play, where we are showing the interstitial ad when the reload button and the next level button is clicked, as well as we are displaying the rewarded video ad when the free coins button is clicked. Now here, using the level play ad events, we will basically try to hide and show the banner when the player enters the trigger, as well as we will going to use the core routine to display the interstitial ad, as well as we will going to use the progression bar to display the rewarded video ad. Now, to do all this thing using the add events example, first you need to select the level play add event example and you will going to find this level play add events example. Here, before we open up the script, if you go to the scene view and click on the level play add events example and zoom on it, you will going to find I am using this mesh render and I basically added a box collider component to this level play add events example with the each trigger checkbox to be checked. So whenever the player will going to enter this trigger, we will make sure to hide the banner ads, and as soon as the player will going to exit this trigger, we will going to make sure to display the banner ads again. Let's disable the mesh render here and let's now open up this level play add events example script. You can see in this example, we are first taking the Mobile Monetization Pro level play initializer and then making sure to store its instance in the level play initializer variable. We are also making sure to start a core routine to display the interstitial ad automatically after the 10 seconds of the timer is completed. Once the 10 seconds of the timer is completed, then we are making sure to check level play initializes script instance and then display the interstitial ad. Now I have kept the timer to be 10 seconds so that there will be enough time for the level play ads to initialize and enough time for the level play ads to load the ads from the server. Now here, if we keep this time to be of let's say 1 second or 2 seconds or of smaller value, there is possibility that the level play ads do not load properly. So you can control this value according to your needs. Here, another thing I have done, I have created two functions on trigger enter and on trigger exit, where we are checking if the tag is the player and the level play initializer is not equal to null, then we are making sure that when the player enters the trigger, we are making sure to hide the banner ad. Similarly, when the player exits the trigger, we will make sure to show the banner ad again to the player. Here, you can also see that we have this load scene example where I'm basically loading the scene that is specified in the button. For example, when the level is getting completed, we are making sure to activate this level complete UI game object. Select the next level button, and here you will going to find that I'm referencing to the level play add events example, and I have selected the load scene, load the level function where I have put the value 1, which means we will going to load the scene 1. Now, just for this example, I have created another scene. If you go to the project scenes and if you go to the example scene 2, let's save it over here. You will going to find I have this additional scene, which is the scene number 1, where I have created a progression bar script, as well as I'm using the same script called load scene to load back the previous level. Here inside the progression bar, we are making sure to change the fill amount of this image to 1. For example, if you select this fill image over here, we are making sure to change its fill amount to 1 based on the speed that is specified over here. Now here, if you open up the script, you will going to find that we have for level play and for add mob, we have two separate code, which means if we are using the level play, then we need to make sure to uncomment this code. And if we were using the add mob, then we need to basically uncomment this code. For now, because we are using the level play, we need to make sure to uncomment this line as well as this line that is provided over here. What we are basically trying to achieve here is that once the fill amount of the image is 1, then we are basically debugging fill completed, as well as we are making sure to use the Mobile Monetization Pro level play initializer instance, and then we are trying to display the rewarded video ad. Now, we do not want to give the reward to the player immediately on ad open. And for this case, we are making sure in the update function, we are checking that if the rewarded ad is completed and closed, only after that we will going to provide the reward to the user. In this case, you can put your custom code, but here as an example, I have put the load level button, which basically gets activated once the rewarded video ad is completed, which allows the player to go back to the previous level. Once the load level button is activated, we are also making sure to reset the rewarded ad variable back to false. Here, if we go back to Unity, you will going to find in the canvas, I have created this button, which is the load previous scene. By default, this button is deactivated and gets activated once the rewarded ad is completed watching by the player. Here, if you go to the file, build profiles, you will going to find that I have added this scene to the Mobile Monetization Pro scenes example scene to the scene number 1 and the demo game to the scene number 0. Let's get back to the demo game now. And here, let's deactivate this level complete UI game object from the hierarchy. So here, we will going to keep the setup like this. And now to test this on the real Android device, we need to go to File, Build Profiles, and then basically connect the Android device and basically click on the Build and Run, open up the game, and you can see that after a few seconds, the Level Play SDK is initialized and loaded the banner ads. And now after 10 seconds, we can see the interstitial ads that we defined in the core routine. Let's close. And now if we play the game, you can see once we enter the trigger, then the banner is hidden. And as soon as the player exits the trigger, then the banner will reappear. Great. Now, if we click on the next level button, we will see the interstitial ad because we have set up the interstitial ad on the next level button and specified in the level play manager script in the previous tutorial. Let's even close this ad and you can see the progression bar is started and now filling. Once the progression bar finishes, we can see the rewarded video test ad. Let's even close this. And after closing it, you will going to see the load previous scene game object is now activated, which now allow us to move back to the previous scene. One small update. Now here, if you go to the level play ad example and the level play ad events example script, you will going to find inside the level play initializer show interstitial, we are passing a boolean parameter and making it true. Here, if you read it, it basically means to show interstitial immediately. This means that if this is true, then we will be displaying the interstitial ad immediately after the 10 seconds of the time that we have specified is completed. In case this is false, and then if we go back to the scene view and click on the level play as initializer, then it will going to make sure that if the enable timed interstitial ad checkbox is checked and the time that is specified here is 10 seconds is completed, as well as you want to display the interstitial ad. So if both the conditions are true, which means the timer is completed, as well as show interstitial callback is called, only after that we will going to make sure to display the interstitial ad. So basically it will going to respect the values and the condition in case this value is false. By default, I will going to keep it to be true to immediately display the interstitial ad automatically after the 10 seconds. Now, here another thing, let's say we keep this value to be true, but if you go back to the Unity game view, basically when the interstitial ad is displayed after 10 seconds, and let's say when the game begins, and let's say the gameplay UI gets activated and the player click on the reload button, in that case the interstitial ad will also going to reappear, as we did not reset it the timer that is already being running by the level play initializer script over here. Now, if we do not reset this timer, then after clicking on this reload button, another ad will appear in front of the player, which can basically make the overall gameplay experience frustrating. And to solve this problem, we can here go back to the level play ad event example and then add another line called level play ad initializer reset interstitial add timer. We can basically call this function, which will now going to allow us to show interstitial add, then after reset the interstitial add timer again. So the next interstitial add will going to appear only after the 10 seconds of closing the last interstitial add. So in conclusion, if you want to display the interstitial add immediately to the player regardless of the time, then you need to basically use this line of code. And if you want to reset the interstitial add timer, you can use this line. And if you want to make sure to show the interstitial add as well as want to check another condition that if the timer for showing the interstitial add is completed, then you can make the show interstitial to be false, which will going to check for both of those conditions, while I will going to make it to be true for now, and we're going to leave the setup something like this. That's it for this video. Thanks for watching.